Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Arachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the woeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, I'm going to try to make this precise. I'm not going to make this a drawn out lesson, but I do want to make a point in regards to this video where they're using this individual who once was a part of Great Millstone, which he happened to be another individual who was really not grounded, was not really set upon the foundation. He crept in unawares. Brothers in the beginning, when he was around, gave him the benefit of the doubt. He looked like or appeared to have zeal, which, Jake, usually have that zeal. And brothers, being spiritual, not judging based on the outward appearance. He seemed to know the breakdowns. He seemed to know the teachings. So brothers, for the most part, they let him do his thing. They had a camp up there, but brothers did notice that this dude was kind of maneuvering with a different energy, a different vibration. He was doing his own thing. He was being seclusive. He wasn't tapping in within the region. And, when you see things like that, certain guys moving a certain way, that suspicion should definitely be, within realms of, communication. All right. Where, you check to see, if this guy is a good fit, for the body, you vet him out. And, back then, the vetting process wasn't as stern as it is now. Now, right now, everything is tight. And these changes had to be made for these exact reasons. One thing this thing of ours really teaches as a lesson is to not just accept any old person. We go into this all the time. Let me grab it real quick. Let's go to the first one I'm going to go to is in Sirach, the 6th chapter, and then we're going to go to the 11th chapter. This is the book of Sirach 6 and verse 7, and it says, "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him." And from my memory, I've only seen him very briefly. I wasn't watching their sit down lessons. I really didn't tune in like that, with the videos that they were doing outside of, clips that would appear here and there. I remember them going to the churches back then, confronting the Christians and cutting Christians and stuff like that. And then I remember the back and forth they had with vocab. Was looking back, that kind of, it seemed to be suspicious, now that we're seeing everything unfold. All right. But brothers, in the beginning, we gave guys the benefit of the doubt. But now at this point, the way things are, the way this devil is rolling, you can't afford that. Everybody got to have acumen, have discernment. The scriptures tell us in 1 Peter to be sober and be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. All right, and he always have tricks up his sleeve, so you never know. And he can hop on any individual, whether they a Jake, whether they a heathen playing like they might be Jake. Whoever it is, all the devil needs is a body to inhabit, and he's gonna, use that host, to play out his schemes. So brothers got to be more alert than ever. Can't trust anybody. Scriptures even tell you that trust you not in any brother, for he will utterly supplant. All right. So, this could have been a way, that there could have been a attempt to infiltrate, but it was a fail. This guy ended up getting offended for whatever reason, and he ended up getting sifted. And that's basically what it is. All right. You get offended, you ultimately get sifted. Because the Lord's going to keep shaking the house of Israel. And if you're undesired, you're gonna fly right off the colander, so to speak, the sifter. Okay. So yeah, we can't be so quick to give guys the benefit of the doubt and to give them credit. So what they're speaking to Lashawan Quadah. So what if they saying double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone? If you ain't operating in the spirit, if you ain't in the unity of the spirit, if you're not in the same mind and in the same judgment, then you're really not of Great Millstone. And you need to separate yourself accordingly. We don't claim you. Okay. So yeah, certain brothers knew in the spirit that, dude wasn't operating right. I barely paid attention to him outside of those, scenarios, where he was, going back and forth with Christians and stuff like that. But to those of you outside of the body that may try to use this guy as, credence to your position to say that, we shouldn't allow or let, people that look like heathens or that look like an Edomite into your camp. Because for all we know, and he was one of the main guys that was being used, to push that narrative that, we let devils into our camps. That's just brothers being spiritual, because you're going to have Israelites that look like everybody under the sun, because we done mixed and mingled among all nations and we were scattered. But make no mistake about it, just because you might be, a Jake that happened to look like an Edomite, that doesn't mean that you get praise. That doesn't mean that you're of the elect. Hey, you can be a wheat and a tare at the same time. And I'm going to tell you why I say it that way. Because one, when the Lord spoke that parable, there was layers to that parable. For the most part, the way we teach it, when it talks about how the devil sowed that seed among the wheat, he sowed tares among the wheat. The seed of the devil it was the devil that planted them. Yeah, and that under that particular layer, that's talking about somebody with the appearance of a Jake, but their father is an Edomite. They're not of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they have the appearance because their mother is one of us. So they can cosplay all along like they're a Jake. But, you be around that individual and you see how they move in their spirit, their aura, their demeanor, their vibration is totally off. So you can break it down that way, but also it's talking about those who were not really planted, all right, by Yahushai, and they came up, their own way. They like it says in John, he that cometh. Let me go to it real quick. Let's go to John 10. John 10 and 1, it says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way." All right, you have, ulterior motives. You thinking that you're gonna out clever the Most High, and think that you're gonna just creep in and play the position and try to rise up in the ranks and get people to follow you or whatever you think you're gonna do. It says the same is a thief and a robber. Okay. And basically you're not planted by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, basically Satan sent you. All right. And let me get this in John, the 5th chapter. It's like you're not John 5th chapter, John 15. So if you a heathen cosplaying as a Jake, you're not gonna fall into the good ground. You're not gonna fall upon that good foundation. You're gonna something's gonna happen, and you're gonna winnow. Okay. This is John 15 and 1. It says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit." Right? "Now are you clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing." And this guy, he didn't abide, in the vine. Okay. That's why he's bugged out of his mind. He definitely don't have the spirit. He's returned back to his vomit. Okay. Because the Lord didn't plant him. It says, if a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. So even if you're an Israelite, if the Lord didn't plant you, all right, your branch is going to wither. You're not going to have any fruit. You're going to dry up, and you're going to be casted out waiting to get burnt. So this wasn't a loss at all. And make no mistake about it, just because, we believe that he was a Jake, even though he had a Edomite appearance, that didn't mean that he was of the elect. All right, this man was he was a wheat in a sense of he could have, his fathers could have gone back to the Moors or whatever, but he looked like an Edomite. But the dude was spiritually an actual tear. Okay, he got planted by the devil, and not by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and that's why he didn't abide in that vine. That's why he became unfruitful, fruitless. So let me get this one in Wisdom of Solomon. Actually, no, Salakia. Let me go to Sirach 11 now, because we're not supposed to be so inclusive and accepting any old brother just because he says shalom and double honors and DTA. That doesn't make him a brother. That doesn't mean that he's of the body, and that doesn't mean that Yahweh Shai planted him. This is Sirach 11 and 29, and it says, "Bring not every man into thine house, for the deceitful man have many trains." They got different agendas, ulterior motives, right? Some men they come in just to be used as a infiltrator, a agent, provocateur, to spy out our liberty, to get information, to get intel. You know, whatever the objective is. All right. And the Lord, he stays shaking up Israel. So if you're not of us, eventually you're going to be shaken out with the wind. It's going to be found out, man. All right. It says, like as a partridge taken and kept in a cage, so is the heart of the proud. And like as a spy, watcheth he for thy fall. For he lieth in wait and turneth good into evil. And some of these dudes, they be waiting for their opportunity to start bugging out. And then they start the blame game instead of taking accountability that they never had the true faith to endure into the end. So they'll start to, be disgruntled and start to, speak evil concerning the ministry. Start attacking the doctrine, start pointing a finger and blaming brothers for whatever situation. And you didn't even, talk to brothers personally. You wasn't being in order. You didn't do nothing decently or in order. You were just waiting for your opportunity to turn something good into evil. It says, and in things worthy praise, they will lay blame upon thee, right? It says, of a spark of fire, a heap of coals is kindled, and a sinful man layeth wait for blood. So that's why it's not good to just welcome any and everybody. Everybody needs to be vetted. Everybody have to have the scope put on them, because you never know. Like the scriptures say, for the deceitful man have many trains. All right, so let me go from there and let me get this in Wisdom of Solomon. This is one of the scriptures that I posted in the comments section. All right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, and starting at verse 4. Now, in its true context, when you read it from the top, it's talking about having a bunch of ungodly children, right? It's better to not have any children in virtue than to have, a bunch of ungodly seeds. All right. And if there's any ungodly seed among us, if that seed was planted by the devil and not by Yahweh Shem Yahushai, this is pretty much the dynamic that's going to take place. All right, it's going to take precedence. So it says, Wisdom of Solomon 4:1. It says, better it is to have no children and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal, because it is known with the Most High with men. When it is present, make men take example at it. And when it is gone, they desire it. It weareth a crown, the triumph forever, having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards. But the multiplying brood of the ungodly shall not thrive, nor take deep rooting from bastard slips. So you're not going to be deeply rooted. There's going to be some things that's going to make you slip. You're not going to be immovable. Something's going to happen is going to trip you up. You're going to be offended. You're going to stumble. It says, nor lay any fast foundation, for though they flourish in branches for a time, and it tells you that in the parable of the sower and the seed, that they might endure for a while. Let's go to that real quick. This is Matthew 13. Yeah, Matthew 13 and 18, it says, hear you therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which is sown in his heart. This is he that which receives seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same as he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it, yet he have no root in himself, but dureth for a while. And like I said, this can apply to an actual Israelite, whether he looked like a Jake or whether he looked like another nation. He could be a speckled bird for all we care. That brother, hey, he looked like an Edomite, but he a Jake. Okay. But guess what? If he falls under this dynamic here, if he have no root in himself, he ain't gonna make it despite what his appearance is. All right. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. So something is going to offend you, and you're going to be affected by that, and it's going to, basically throw you off. Your faith will officially be overthrown because you're not founded and settled on the true foundation. If you a heathen, you definitely not going to be rooted in that foundation. Even if you try to fake it, to try to make it, you're not going to make it. All right. You try to get Jake lingo down, and you try to emulate Jake to try to get in, but you happen to be a heathen. Something's going to take place. Something's going to take precedent, and it's not going to end well. All right. Somehow, some way, you're going to be out of there. All right. So let me jump down. It says another verse 24, Matthew 13, another parable put the forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. All right. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then have it tares? He said unto him, my enemy have done this. The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And this is what we say when God try to come at us with that, y'all let heathens into the camp. We say, well, time will tell, through the Spirit. Because we don't go by outward appearance, we go by the Spirit. So if he's a heathen, time will tell, and eventually he's going to be sifted if he's not an Israelite, or if he happens to actually be an Israelite by lineage, but he has the outward appearance of an Edomite or another nation. This still applies. If the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua didn't plant you and you're not of the elect, even though you're Israel, because remember, Paul even said all Israel is not of Israel. You got the Israel, and then you got the Israel of the Most High. You got the elect and you got the non-elect. So those that come into the camps all throughout the years, only to fall out, hey, you were those spiritual tares that the Lord didn't plant. All right, you grew, with the brotherhood, with the laborers. You was out in the field with the rest of us. You got to get a taste of the gift of the Holy Spirit. You went out there and prophesied. You did all that. But when the time comes, you're going to be uprooted. You're going to be sifted away if you was not planted on the proper foundation. It says, and in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. And let's jump down where he further elaborates. He expounds on it. Verse 36. Then Yahushua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. And that's doublefold. Tares, as in your father's a straight up Edomite, but you look like a Jake because your mama was probably a dark skinned Negro woman, or even a Latino woman. Or you wasn't of the elect, but you crept in unawares and you endured for a little while. But then the persecution because of the word, or temptation. You failed to temptation and ended up sinning and got casted away, or whatever the case may have been. You're a terror too. You lose faith and you fall out. You put your hand to the plow and look back. You was a terror. So this is all during the harvest, right? It says the enemy that sold them is the devil, whether the physical incarnation of the devil, Esau, or spiritually, Satan came and planted you there, only for you to get marked. All right. It says the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. And the angels, they know who is who. They know those who have the seal of the Lord in their foreheads, man. So the angels are going to be doing a sifting. They're going to be, taking the spirit away from guys and giving them over to Shaitan. Guys going to be bugging out. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to be sifted. It says, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. Okay. So this dude, he was planted by the devil. All right. Whether he's an actual Edomite and the spirit revealed it by him not enduring until the end, or he could be a Jake that just happened to look like an Edomite, but he wasn't of the elect, and he got disgruntled, and Satan was able to get a hold of him. All right. And now he's being used by adversaries. Like this means something. This doesn't make the truth any less potent, or that it's not doing its purpose. This doesn't mean that we don't have the truth because a guy just ups and leaves or bug out. All right. He couldn't endure. All right. But that's because the Lord appointed him to that condemnation. So going back to Wisdom of Solomon 4, and this is what happened with this dude. It says, verse 4 says, for though they flourish and branches for a time, yet standing not fast, they shall be shaken with the wind, sifted, and through the force of winds they shall be rooted out. All right. So dude got rooted out. Dude wasn't right. He wasn't in order. He wasn't trying to be in order. And he could have been a plant. He could have been set up. The devil planted him. Whether the spiritual demon Satan or he was an actual devil, and they used this guy. All right. It says the imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat, yet meat for nothing. Okay. So that's pretty much that. Okay. He nothing of value was lost. And if anything, he tried to make the ministry look bad just by his antics. Trying to be a little extreme at times. Like dude, know when to fall back. You got to entertain every single person out there. They call themselves Christian. He definitely wouldn't have been able to be in the camp now because we put the squeeze on that, dealing with Christian spirit. We're not even dealing with these Christians anymore like that in person. But that was what he used to get off on that. And people was getting drawn to, watching them and watching their camp. Like, damn, this is interesting. A so-called white boy, he's in a Israelite camp cussing out white people, Edomites. So a lot of people thought that was ironic. But no. You're going to have Israelites that look like Esau. But this dude right here, he wasn't it. So he was like a great value weedy. If he is indeed an Israelite that just looked like a Edomite, he was just a great value weedy. All right. He was a pretend weedy. So anyway, I'm gonna give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Shai. Until the next one, Shalom.